Hey guys, SGT here, and I couldn't be happier to have on the line Michael Woody O'Brien, who's a political and economic commentator who writes at financialsense.com and for GoldSeek. And I discovered him on the Max Kaiser Show, and I love him because he speaks truth. How are you, Woody?
I'm great and happy to be with you.
You know, there's so much going on with the global kleptocracy that is now taking down the entire world. Turmoil is spreading worldwide. I'm calling it turmoil. You're calling it term oil.
That's exactly correct, because I think for many weeks the term that is going to be on everybody's lips is going to be oil. This latest jump that we're seeing in the price of crude oil it's absolutely just the beginning, where the West Texas Intermediate is kissing $100 and the Brent North Sea crude is over $110. I think people do not really understand how fragile the global supply chain for many things are, but especially for oil. You get a disruption from a country like Libya. You don't need a whole lot of supply to come off the market if a country like Saudi Arabia can't expand to make that up, because they're already at their natural limits. We could get to $150 oil very, very quickly, and that is going to be term oil, because that's going to translate into much higher gas prices. I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Lindsey Williams. He said that before any of these real reserves in the North Slope are open, we're going to have to see $200 a barrel. He's been right on the money for a long time, including telling people to sell the first time it got to $148 and it was going to go below $60. So I'm certainly not going to argue with that, and I think people are going to have to start to prepare to adjust. In the past, when we've had these oil spikes, one of the things the average American would do is, well, if they had two vehicles, they would drive the one that got better gas mileage a little bit more. I think that's certainly going to come into play. People are going to be a little bit more judicious about their travel, maybe go shopping a little bit less and try and get more things all in one trip. But this is going to be difficult for people, and it's especially going to be difficult for people at the bottom of the economic ladder, because I think one of the things that people don't realize, because most people still aren't thinking outside the box of what mainstream media is telling us, that in many ways, a reasonably affluent person, someone who has $1 million of wealth and is well diversified, that person is actually cheering for higher oil prices, because if that person has to spend $2 more a gallon of gasoline, that may be $200 or $300 of additional expenses to them every month. But the part of their investments that is in energy could go up by $20,000 or $30,000. So it's one of those things, you know, for someone who is a millionaire or better, this is probably going to be a beneficiary if they're well diversified. But for the person who has $10,000 to their name and it's all in a bank and they have to worry about the security of their bank, this is going to be awful.
Meanwhile, the middle class, the lower class, the working poor are getting absolutely slaughtered, and it's just there's just no easy way out. I'm going to quote you. You say, quote, "There is no salvation for the dollar. People need to prepare for the collapse that is now unavoidable." I wanted to ask you what you think about an economic collapse in terms of hyperinflation. Are you seeing something happening 2011, 2012? What's your take?
I'm kind of where John Williams is with shadow stats right now. I think his economic numbers of where the inflation is right now is the most accurate thing it is that we have. I find myself saying, you know, we get to $150, $200 a barrel oil,
and it's over.
You know,
it's over for the economy, right? At that point,
I think it's already over for the economy. The numbers of growth are a little faker than, you know, a $3 bill or Pamela Anderson's chest. But I think at the end of the day, I can't see how we get to this Christmas in anything that resembles the status quo. But this is one of those kind of questions I just go, I know everybody asks this, and I know everybody wants to answer it. And if it would help people get prepared, I would tell everybody it could be Monday.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. And I don't even like to ask the question, and that it's just like, it doesn't matter. We just know it's coming. And the biggest blessing we have is if you know it's coming, but it ain't here yet, you got time. And that's the biggest blessing we have at this point, is if tomorrow's another day to go out to Sam's Club and buy 3 bags of rice and prepare, then great. Woody, I just want to talk a little bit about, the way I started this interview with this reference to the global kleptocracy, which is taking down the world. Do you think this is contrived, or do you think that this is organic? And what I mean by that is that the people that we saw in Egypt taking to the streets for 2 and 3 weeks at a time, clearly passionate, clearly real, and they truly do want change. But the George Washington blog reported that a CIA agent was caught red-handed aiding Pakistani terrorism. News that an American accused of killing 2 Pakistani men as a CIA contractor has intensified. And if you jump to the bottom of the article, Woody, the most ominous point in this report is that, quote, of providing to al-Qaeda terrorists, quote, nuclear, fissile material, and biological agents. So, Woody, what are we seeing? Is this, as Lindsey Williams has described, all contrived and all being done by design, order out of chaos?
Well, I think there is certainly an excellent case to be made by the people who really focus on kind of the elite conspiracy possibilities. The CIA certainly has their fingerprints on lots of bad things around the world. And the people who believe that this is a massive elite conspiracy, if I had to bet $1, I would certainly bet $1 that those people are right. But I think the focus that people need to have right now is the dollar is toast. And when that happens, that the dollar collapses, our way of life is going to change. And at that moment, when that happens, there will only be one question that will matter. And that question is, are you ready? And I think when I look at the emails and the questions that people send me, how high do you think silver will go? Or when do you think this will all happen? What's the date the dollar will collapse? I would say if anybody knows the right answer to this, they'll be famous for about 3 minutes until people realize it doesn't matter. If collapse occurs on Monday morning, are you ready? Do you have a supply of water and storable food to get you through if it lasts a week? Do you have gold and silver to use as barter if it lasts a month? Do you have relationships with farmers that you've bought directly from farmers out of their barns if it lasts for 6 months? There is an infrastructure that's required to survive collapse. There's things that you're going to need that you won't be able to buy anymore. And I think for the average Joe on the street, the historians will argue who caused the collapse, whether it was accidental. But for you in day-to-day survival, the only thing that will matter is, are you ready?
This concludes Part 1. Click here for Part 2.